This is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
Hello there, welcome along to Good Morning Uganda Extra, and here we are again to make sure that we bring to you discussions, conversations that will impact your life as an individual, as a Ugandan out there. I am Joram Paul Sonko. It's a wonderful Thursday morning and we are here to make sure that you feel inspired. The country is fully into the mode of Independence Day celebrations. We're already in the month of October. Just a few days to the 9th of this very month when Uganda got her independence 61 years back. That was in 1962. What a journey the country has had from all the various sectors: health, practitioners, educationists, the army or security personnel, everybody in the service sector, production, a lot. We want to wish you all a happy independence. The celebrations continue, and of course, as the national broadcaster, we shall be bringing you an in-depth of every little detail in regards to Uganda marking 61 years of independence. That aside though, today's topic of discussion this morning here on the GMU Extra is steadily looking at the International Teachers' Day, which is today. And we want to wish a happy International Teachers' Day to all the teachers out there, to everybody who is learning something from an individual. I want to believe that person can as well be your teacher. But well, our focus also is on the teachers who have made us who we are, or who continue to turn this generation into a remarkable workforce and as well as influential in the same aspect. So we are looking at the plight of the teachers in Uganda as we mark the International Teachers' Day today. But I cannot be having conversation alone though. In studio this morning, we are joined by Mr. Patrick Kaboyo, who is the National Secretary for the Federation of Non-State Education Institutions, who will be sharing with us how the sector is faring today, where the challenges are at, and of course, what are the achievements and which areas need progress and development. A very good morning, sir, and many thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. Good morning, Paul. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for the work you are doing at UBC. And I'm glad that I have the platform to share a little knowledge that I can give the public viewing us in their sitting rooms, those in the diaspora, to get to know the picture regarding the teacher and our education system.
The pleasure is ours to have you this morning though. And speaking of the International Teachers' Day celebrations, for the viewers out there, what do we have as our theme this year?
Thank you so much. The themes have been changing time to time or annually, but for 2023 the theme is short but very packed.
Okay.
It is the teachers we want for the education we need. The teachers we need for the education we want.
So it's more like targeting the kind of teachers we need to have as a country.
Yes, but when you get the key words in that theme, we have needs and wants. And needs are different from wants. Education itself is a human right, and as well enshrined in the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda, Article 30, it stipulates that every individual person has the right to education. But now to unpack the two words, needs and wants, is to look at the two actors, the right bearers, the duty bearers, and the rights holders. Those who must receive have the right to enjoy that right to education. Yes. But those who must ensure that education is delivered in a good way, in a quality perspective, those must fulfill the want. Because for us to arrive at having education as rightfully enjoyed by everybody, Here we are discussing issues of access, we are discussing issues of equity, we are discussing issues of efficiency, that for instance, if the Ministry of Education and Sports communicates that all schools will begin or will open on a specific date, let's say 18th of September, we expect that schools should open on that day to begin actual teaching and learning processes in the school.
Yes.
That a teacher should have a lesson plan derived from the scheme of work, and the scheme of work collects content from the syllabus that he uses to know that in this term, let's say I have 20 topics, I will break them this way, and each breaking must have its own lesson plan, which must be looked at by the head of department, by the head teacher, or these days we have the director of studies, even in primary schools, so that they get to know what is this teacher teaching the learners. But when all that is done, we need to see whether the learner has understood. We need to see whether the learner's books have been marked by the teacher. We need to see whether the teacher has put in these learners' books corrective measures in terms of comments, in terms of uploading or rewarding success, but also taking care of the remedial aspect of learning. Teaching and learning process is not like driving a bus. You remember when we were still in school, you'd go for trips, and when the driver would carve a corner and you all kind of sleep and you make noise, you enjoy.
It feels like you're going to
fall, to get off. So in a classroom, there are those learners that do not grasp or take the content as the first learners. So it should be clearly put forth that if I have 50 learners, I have taught them, maybe as I conclude, 5 have not understood. But if they have not understood, what should I do to them?
To make sure that
they do understand. All those that you perform as tasks as a teacher are put on the lesson plan, meaning that you will have to prepare. So fast forward to get to the theme, the teachers we need are the teachers who prepare lessons. The teachers we need are the teachers who have time for the learners. And when we talk about teachers, the perspective switches to the nursery school, primary school, and secondary school teacher. We forget our lecturers who are in universities.
Or even technical
Even
institutes.
technical institutions or farm schools. The beauty of this is that with the reform taking place in the country is the national teacher policy.
Okay.
Which removed that discriminatory categorization of who is the teacher. The nomenclature or the naming or the wording or the phrasing of who a teacher is was agreed nationally in this country, that as long as you are qualified from an institution that trained you to teach as a teacher from any level, beginning to the highest, you are a teacher. So the teacher right now delivering his or her lessons in a nursery school is the same teacher as the one in a secondary school, is the same teacher as the professor at Makerere lecturing, is the same teacher at Chambogo, because what they are doing is teaching. So the teacher we want is that one who has time for the learner. But most times you'll find that, including lecturers or teachers,
They have limited time to interact with.
for lectures.
True.
But you know that for a standard measurement, what the teacher teaches you when you are in class,
The basics.
when you are in class,
Yes.
and when I was in class at a young age, we couldn't know that this teacher's time is calculated. That's why you see another teacher comes in, another goes out.
And we could just see a timetable.
Timetable, exactly, a timetable. So a lesson, a standard lesson, is 40 minutes. If it's double, that's 80 lessons.
Okay.
So within 80 lessons, a teacher should have planned to deliver aspects of content or curriculum that this learner must benefit. So the teacher must have time for learners.
Mr. Kaboyo, let's look at the state of our education sector. I love how you've actually reminded the viewers that when we are looking at teachers, we should not only focus on those in elementary or primary or kindergarten or secondary, but as long as someone goes on to teach and help someone acquire a skill, regardless of the institution, whether it's a lower institution of learning, but as long as it's an institution of enriching somebody practically and theoretically, then that person is a teacher. Looking at the state of our education, how favorable has it been lately, or where are the hindrances in development?
Thank you. It's good that we are growing.
Okay.
5 years ago, you were not the same. You have progressed.
Very true.
Equally, as a country, I want to state that we have progressed, but there are some few cases of stagnation here and there.
Very true.
And those issues of stagnation are brought about by a smaller resource envelope that the education sector receives. You know that leaders who are politically elected are the ones that have the power and the mandate to drive these social aspects: education, health, infrastructure, name it. And when we discuss education, we are not isolating ourselves as a Uganda context, but we are discussing this as a global matter. Also, to bring you to the speed and also the viewers, is that this theme that we've talked about, the teachers we need for the education we want, is a global theme. Is discussed at a global level. So you ask the question, where are we at? I want to state with clarity that at macro level, that is at the higher level of education, we are seeing progress, because as we speak, we have the reforms taking shape in the country that are going to help the teacher. The beauty of it is that as the reforms take shape, the public needs to follow through the reform process so that they get to know exactly what is happening. But the danger we are having is that too many reforms taking place and the public is not very aware. So this means that there has to be advocacy to bring people, to bring parents, to bring the community to understand that we are saying for a teacher of the 21st century. You know, for me, I was born in the 20th century. We are now in the 21st century. I will not live to see the 21st century conclude.
Very true.
Because I cannot live for 70 plus years now. Will I make 100 plus? I doubt. But the people who are now being born might live to see the 21st century close and we go to the 22nd. But as we transit to the 22nd century, a teacher of the 21st century must be a good communicator, must be one who has skills to give to the students. This teacher must be able to interpret and guide the learner to learn well in class with skills. And all this has been documented in the National Teacher Policy, which is a document that spells out the standards, the guidelines, how it's going to be implemented. But when it comes to the public now, they say, you see, they are saying every teacher must have a degree. And how will teachers have a degree? You know, they say the higher you go, the cooler it becomes. But also the higher you go with knowledge, the sharper you become. When these teachers get qualified and get higher qualifications, they understand the growth, development, and changes that these learners must receive in class. For instance, manning a classroom of 3 to 6 years of age children is very critical, that you need to have a teacher who understands the brain formation, the nerve formation, the levels of social construction. We don't want teachers in nursery school who will pinch these babies because they can't talk, who will give ungolo.
Because they want them to do what they have been told
They
to
have
do.
been taught to. You see, at that level, if these children have been forced to follow a certain lifestyle, it will be hard to change.
So they've grown up under toxic
Under toxin, torture, those they will be the adults. You find that even if they are grieving, they cannot express themselves, or they hate themselves. You go to campus, you find that those people who want to be in cocoons because their aspects to express themselves have not been supported by the teacher. So the teacher, therefore, supports the growth and development of the learner at all levels and monitors that. So for you to have that, you should have gone to school. You should have been properly baked. And that's why we keep going to school. Even there are some professors
who continue
going back to sharpen themselves. Like if you have a knife at home, I know you have in your household.
Yes, I do.
That knife must be sharpened at a certain time.
Exactly.
But when you sharpen it, it cuts better. So that is the level where we are at. The other thing is on the curriculum. Right now, you know, there is the lower secondary school curriculum. If you have seen the report cards of our daughters and sons now in our homes, they have codes of A of 1, 2, 3, and descriptors. But in the past, the reports were different. Now we are looking at competence. So this teacher of the 21st century must be competent to deliver the competencies. And when we talk about competence, it's not about stories. You see, the teacher comes to class, is looking at a newspaper, is telling stories. You see these people who are traveling the other side and the bus overturned. No, the issue is, what skill have you imparted? What can the learner be able to do using his parts of the body? Can he do sports? Can he kick a ball? Can he use his hands maybe to manipulate a system? Are there computers? But for you to do that, it means you must have the skill to give. And when it comes to the skill, it is individual. So you cannot make a product as a group because everything has the vision bearer. Even the government currently in power, the NRM, the person who said, this is my vision that I'm leading my colleagues to go to the bush is President Museveni, is the vision bearer. So the vision bearer in a competence-based curriculum is the one who can produce and say, teacher,
this is what
this is a mat, I'll produce, this is a rope, I can make a rope. So for you to deliver that, it means that the teacher should be supported by having a smaller classroom, a smaller class. Because if you have a bus, a whole bus of 200 learners, you will not impart skills as they must be with competencies. But largely, we urge government to think about the pupil-teacher ratio, that a teacher should be able to really teach these skills to the learners when there are not too many. That's when you will manage them, you will supervise them, you will review their work, and guide them to be very productive citizens.
Okay. Yeah. And well, of course, to our viewers out there, our conversations continue to focus on the teachers in the country. Not only that, looking at the International Teachers' Day celebrations, which are today, the theme is the teachers we need for the education we want. Of course, there are differences between the needs and the wants. Obviously, there is something you need, and then there is something you want to have. And here we want quality teachers in order to establish quality education that we need, or that we deserve as well. Before we even go into the break, looking at, you've mentioned the quality of or the state of education that we have and how things have been changing,
Yep.
and the quality of education as well. But also, I need to understand, earlier this week we had conversations rotating around assessment of students.
Yes.
And this is something that has been pushed a lot through our new curriculum, the enrollment of the new curriculum. How, as we are celebrating International Teachers' Day, how important is this assessment, and how best can the teachers that we have in our country be able to execute the assessment of students they are teaching?
Wow, thank you. That's a very powerful question. It is packed. When we talk about assessment, we are looking at measuring what this learner has picked from the classroom. There are different people who can measure that learning. A parent at home can measure if he or she has gone to school.
Yes.
But the official institution that is supposed to measure that teaching and learning in Ugandan context is the Uganda National Examinations Board, which has teachers trained but also specialists in different aspects of measurement.
Okay.
And when we talk about assessment, it is periodic. It is continuous. It is a process. But there are also those measurements that are eventful. So those measurements that take place as a process are called continuous assessment. At university, like lawyers, they have the CAT, continuous assessment tests, to be able to be seen that they qualify for another set of examination or for graduation.
Okay.
Again, when you go to the university, the assessment is quite interesting and better than the lower levels, because you have the classroom, the class contact, the coursework, you have the group work. All those constitute the assessment grades until you have the last assessment grade. But at the lower level, we have the continuous assessment, which I talked about, and also the summative assessment.
Okay.
Summative is the word in mathematics, summing. Like if you have added everything, what do you get? So if you gave a student tests or exams in the subjects, you mark, you add. When you add, you sum, and that becomes summative assessment. But summative assessment should be supported by continuous assessment to give a clear picture of the learner achievement.
Okay.
And again, the parent also needs to be part of the assessment.
True.
To know what's happening. But the challenge we are having at the moment, including myself, by the way, is that we rarely get time to
have
look
time
at
with the children.
With our children, we are hustling, we are looking for tuition, we are looking for
School fees,
cost of living,
yes.
school fees, the economy is bad, the child is sometimes having less time with you as a parent, but we keep moving. But the beauty with the new curriculum is that the country is proposing a 2080 assessment model, that 80% of the content the learner accesses from the instructor in the classroom should be assessed using the summative model.
Okay.
And then the 20% should be continuous, that this teacher is given the opportunity to observe. In continuous assessment, you observe and record facts, and you don't tell stories or lies. But the question we are having is, shall we have teachers of integrity that are going to record actual issues or outcomes that these learners have posted. You see, I've taught many students in this country, even the diaspora who are looking at me right now.
Yes.
They know how I taught them. They can say, that man taught us, he had no integrity, or he was playing us like this, he faked our marks, he did this, he disappeared with our marks. They have that liberty to speak as we speak now. So that's the teacher. We need that when the 20% is put into the assessment equation, the teacher's integrity should be unquestionable.
Obviously, and you also have a student here.
Yes.
I think Chantal, who works with us here in the morning.
I have another also. I have two.
You have two here.
Including Sheila here, yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
So when we do return after the break, we shall be looking at now the conditions under which teachers are teaching or under which the teachers are operating in the country. It's still the International Teachers' Day, and of which we celebrate with all our dear viewers and all the teachers. After the break, we'll return with more conversations. Good morning.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
Did you know that Sawota Fleming Coates was Uganda's final governor before independence? Sawota Fleming Coates was born on 30th November 1912 in Aberdeen, Scotland. He was educated at Glasgow Academy, the University of St Andrews and St John's College, Cambridge. He was a British colonial administrator and Uganda's final governor before independence from 1961 to 1962. Sawota Fleming Coates approved the Uganda Coat of Arms on 1st October 1962 before they were formally established by law on 9th October. He was also chosen Governor General of Uganda from 1962 to 1963 because he had a reputation within the colonial office for supporting African nationalism and African independence movements. He died on 4th November 1988.
Enjoy the true Ugandan coffee experience as we commemorate the rich legacy of Uganda's Arabica coffee this International Coffee Day. The Coffee Day celebration will be held on the 5th of October 2023 at Agri Evolve Limited in Nyabirongo Parish, Kisinga Town Council in Kasese District, under the theme Celebrating Arabica Coffee from the Foothills of Mount Rwenzori. This event is organized by Uganda Coffee Development Authority and Uganda Coffee Federation with support from Agri Evolve, USAID, Feed the Future, the European Union, Private Sector Foundation Uganda, Rainforest Alliance, Kenya Ports Authority, and EcoBank.
Pick of the day on UBC. Was brought to you by
MTN Momo Pay is the easy way to pay. Dial star 165 star 3 hash or use the MTN Momo app. You don't need cash. MTN Momo Pay is safe and free.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
The teachers we need for the education we want is the theme for this year's International Teachers' Day. The conversations continue here on Good Morning Uganda Extra, and I'm still with Mr. Kaboyo Patrick, who is the National Secretary for the Federation of Non-State Education Institutions. So as we are looking and focusing on the level of education in the country, the conditions under which students are studying, this day is one where our focus is really on the teachers. The celebrations at the Kololo ceremonial grounds are already kicking off, I should say. Teachers are already heading there. And then other countrywide celebrations, obviously, because today, most of the schools, almost all the schools, by the way, haven't had active studies simply because the teachers have to respect their day and celebrate it, really. And so it's more of a public holiday, but for the teachers and the learners. But besides that, Mr. Kaboyo, looking at the conditions, you know, teachers, the education sector, we've a couple of times had some parents, you know, stopping their children from going in for education at universities. Some of them, the same way other parents stop their children from going in for arts subjects. But however, back in the time, for someone going in for education, it came with a lot of respect for anyone, for that individual in society. Is it because of the working conditions that have made it a different scene for people to value education or to value teaching as a profession? Let's first look at the conditions under which teachers operate.
Thank you, Paul. You see, you share a very great name of the Apostle Paul in the Bible. And also the issues we are discussing are very big issues of teachers. All professions, including journalism,
yes,
rests on what the teacher has
instilled
offered, has instilled in you. Because we are who we are because of our teachers. But you should know that teachers cannot be better than the society where they come from, because we pick them from the very society where we live. So the conditions, you'll find that are largely the same. Reason being that when COVID-19 hit us, it's when we understood the value of the teacher. You'd find that teachers used to be taken as those who cannot impact so much. But during COVID-19, we saw lots of pregnancies happening from people's homes.
True.
We saw students becoming restless, mental health issues. They were not guided because the teacher was not present. They were out of school. So the importance of teachers cannot be downplayed or underestimated. But suffice to say that the conditions are still wanting. They're still wanting at all fronts. To bring you to speed to what you said earlier, the national teacher policy tries to put forth issues that can address teacher symbolism, teacher professionalism, and teacher revitalization. But of course, it is a process bound to be facilitated by resources available. But the conditions, for instance, are that as we speak, we are running two sectors, the public and the private sector. When we come to the private sector, you'll find that we have the national schools and the international schools. Comparatively, you'll find that day-to-day teaching and learning processes are delivered differently. The conditions to start with, one is the nature of the classroom. The space available should be enough, should facilitate teaching and learning process. The environment should have where a teacher should hang charts or learning aids to facilitate learning. For those who have advanced, should have a projector, should have constant supply of power. But you'll go to many of our classrooms, they have no electric installation. There are no sockets. There's no functional computer in a classroom. But for 21st century teaching and learning, it requires that a classroom, a class teacher should have a computer that is functioning, that if this student has to be facilitated by carrying out research, let's say on a certain topic, or to do some simulation using available apps, they should say, can you go to the computer, Google this? But in our classrooms, primary, for you to say we have internet in the class, you'll even find that the district also is lacking internet connectivity. So the teachers then cannot be better than the district where they come from.
True.
So nationally, there has to be countrywide internet connectivity to all classrooms to facilitate learning. When it comes to teacher motivation, which is a very important aspect in teaching and learning, largely you'll find that most teachers are carrying their problems from their homes into the classroom, into the students,
and all
who
that
are
frustration
innocent.
is definitely
poured on this learner. But there has to be a system to motivate these teachers in terms of incentives, remuneration, and monitoring, so that this learner gets what he or she is supposed to get from the teacher. But you find that this teacher maybe has no housing. This teacher is not given support to sleep well. This teacher's children are at home. They have been chased for school fees, but you expect him to come and teach your children because you have paid. The teacher will be present physically, but the soul will be somewhere else. And within 40 minutes, the child will not have benefited from the teacher. So that working condition, teacher motivation, needs to be looked at. Then we also need to look at the aspect of teacher training. You'll find teachers have used same notes or content that they used 10 years ago because he has been in the same class. His head teacher has not changed him, maybe from senior 2 to go and teach senior 4.
So he's in the same
He's in the same class for a long time. He becomes that master. They are also called master of that class. Then you find him calling himself Mr. Physics. Good morning, class. Good morning, Mr. Physics. Because he has been there. Not knowing that
doing the same thing,
same thing every day. Things have changed. This teacher must research, must go back to school, must do refresher courses, and in the day-to-day teaching and learning process, we refer to them as continuous professional development, or CPDs. Those CPDs should be school-tailored, should be Ministry of Education and Sports tailored, should be district tailored. If there is a good district education officer, let's say, or city education officer in Kampala here where we are, should be able to answer how many CPDs, for instance, the supervisor at KCCA watching us, Mr. Malala, how many CPDs has he organized for teachers of Central Region, let's say on assessment, on effective teaching, on customer care. Do you know that our teachers think customer care is for people in banks and markets? But a parent deserves to be
for
talked
people in
to
direct business.
Exactly,
sales.
because teaching my child is your business.
Yes.
And you must have acceptable customer care to treat me. You'll go and meet a teacher. You greet the teacher, good morning, sir. And you say, how are you? That is rude. If somebody
Like
says good morning, sir, you say good morning
to you.
That's a small thing.
True.
Someone will serve you, you leave, cannot say thank you. How may I help you? Those things, sorry. Sorry, I'm late. Sorry, I've taken some minutes away. You've had people ask you, go to their places of work. Sir or madam, you've sat here for a long time. Has anybody helped you? How may I help you? That is the teacher we want. Oh, Rose, today you got 6 out of 10. The other time you got 5 out of 10. What's the problem? Why don't you get an out of it? Is it that you don't understand what I'm teaching? What should we do? That is the mentality. The beauty I've had that in a certain university I want to mention, because I'm not a marketer of any, is that they have the co-teacher system or the tutor model. That if a main lecturer comes and delivers the lecture. After the main lecturer has gone, there is another tutor now who comes to do tutorials to see where didn't you understand, where should we tighten, and you find that their graduates come out with that dose of attention.
Yes.
But it comes at a cost, meaning that government of Uganda should put resources into the education sector. I repeat, the Ministry of Finance should put money in education, because if you want to kill your country or to kill your family,
yes,
don't educate your children. There will be the thieves in the neighborhood.
Mr. Kaboy, on that
Yes.
very point,
Yes.
I want to have some recommendations from you.
Yes.
One, going into the Ministry of Education, it's the overseer of the education sector in the country, and then the second, going to the teachers themselves, and third, the learners.
Yes, let me start from the learners,
Okay.
because the learners are the principals, are the key.
Yes.
The learners must be supported to take in what teachers offer them. And to be supported means that all family heads should feed their children. They should provide them medical care by checking them, by making sure that they're in good health, so that they keep in school and not being absent.
Yes.
That means that the parents should play their role, but largely in public schools, government has not helped so much to have learners in school eat something. We are not asking for a buffet. We are not asking for chicken and chips. We are asking for the bare minimum, which is a cup of porridge. Uniformly, if these learners know that we grow a lot of kasoli in Uganda, and some kasoli is dying in stores, but if it's processed and each school has a cup of porridge for every learner, then the dropout will reduce. To the teachers, integrity should be upheld and shouldn't be lost. Because when a parent pays their money in both private and public, they expect quality education delivered by the teacher, because the parents cannot be teachers at school. But as they say, that integrity is like virginity. You lose it at once. You cannot say, I had integrity yesterday, I lost it today, I will regain it tomorrow. You have lost, you have lost. So to uphold, let's keep our integrity and we maintain it. Again, on the teachers, they have to offer the best customer care to these learners at all levels. And when I say customer care, I mean right from nursery school up to the PhD student who is being instructed by the teacher, or a professor or a teacher in a nursery school. When it comes to the government of Uganda, the arm that appropriates the resources is the Parliament of Uganda. Parliamentarians know that they are who they are because of the education they have acquired. And I want to state that a good education system should be programmed that at a certain age, learners should have completed a certain cycle to belong to a particular cohort of consumers of that education. If we are saying that as a country, our interest is to keep all teens up to their age 23 in school, not dropping out, it means that for basic education, secondary education, and higher education should have a fund that is non-negotiable, because if the resources are available to keep you in school, it's like at home. If we switch off lights at midnight, go to your bed and sleep. If you are found in the sitting room or in the compound or in the bed loitering at night in the darkness, are you a night dancer? Are you a thief? What are you doing when people are sleeping? If all learners are in school, they are supposed to be in school studying within an age bracket. Let issues of dropout cease. And we make sure that for those who should be in school, are in school. For those who are working. Then the system will automatically correct itself, and we leave those issues of dropout, low completion. You see our education system, but that happens if we can have a paradigm shift by the leaders in positions to prioritize education, put their adequate resources, and on annual increment, we shall be able to push back.
All right. Mr. Kaboyo, due to time management here now, I would request you to give us your parting shots. And of course, I do expect in your parting shots a message to our dear teachers as well.
My parting shot to you, Paul, and to the crew in this UBC is to at least ask you to send a thank you message to your teacher, because you are what you are now because of the teacher.
Yes.
The message is that let's all appreciate the teachers and to say that there is no education system that can be better than the quality of its teachers. So they are the teachers who make countries stand. They are the teachers who make all professions count. If there were no teachers, we would be nowhere in this country. And to close is that if a mistake is made by a medical doctor, a patient will die. If an economist makes a mistake, a generation might die. But if a teacher makes a mistake, the whole country will be lost. So for keeping these teachers doing what they can do best is to support them, to motivate them, to value them, and the country will improve with good teachers.
Thank you very much for your time this morning.
Most welcome.
And happy International Teachers Day to you.
Happy International Teachers Day to you too.
All right. And of course, now to all our teachers, we wish you a happy Teachers Day. This is it's actually the International Teachers Day, so it's global, as we should say. You can send a message, or if you're seated next to your teacher, you can as well wish them a happy Teachers Day. And to all the teachers who have been watching us, many thanks. From the time we started off at 6:30 a.m. in the morning, as we keep inspiring Ugandans. The celebrations continue countrywide as well in regards to celebrating teachers. The theme of this year is the teachers we need for the education we want as a country. I've been having Mr. Patrick Kaboyo, who is the National Secretary for the non-state, for the Federation of Non-State Education Institutions in Uganda. And our conversation was partially looking at the education sector, but at the backdrop of the International Teachers Day. I'm Joram Paul Sonko. You've been watching Good Morning Uganda Extra. Till tomorrow, stick around to UBC as we continue inspiring Ugandans. But as of now, it's a goodbye.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
Did you know that Sawota Fleming Coates was Uganda's final governor before independence? Sawota Fleming Coates was born on